Welcome to Stochastic MLB DFS live before lock for the early slate. We're going to have other shows for the later slate as well. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by SoRare MLB, which is a digital trading card and NFT-based free-to-play MLB game. We'll talk about SoRare a little bit more later on. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Adam, how are you doing this morning?
Doing pretty well. Looking forward to the two slates. I like having decent size early slate, decent size late slate. It's nice, you can trick yourself into thinking you're gonna take home 100K in baseball today.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was easier to trick yourself into it when it was just 100K up top. Like you just have to win one tournament as opposed to two. Too. That's true. If you win both, that's really impressive.
Like I've won 100K in a single tournament a few times. I've never gotten 50 twice in the same day.
Yeah. Me neither. I don't know how many people have. I'm sure there are people who have, but it's probably a pretty small group that have. Oh, I mean, outside of playing on the same slate.
The online poker days, like somebody taking down two of the Sunday majors in the same day, and that was just like such a massive thing. And I feel like it's very similar but I mean, like in DFS, you don't really get that chance outside of like NFL.
Right. You don't usually get two big slates on the same day all that often. Yeah, I'm sure it's happened, but not all that frequently. Best we can hope for is like back-to-back days typically, right. But I honestly I'd settle just for binking one of them. I think I think I'd be okay with.
I at this point I would take like a third.
Right? Yeah, same. I wouldn't mind that. All right, we've got a 5-game slate to talk about here. The early slate, no Coors on this one. That'll be on the evening slate. So that makes things a little bit. I don't know if you want to call it more interesting or less interesting that we have no Coors on this slate. It's a different slate. But we're going to start with Texas at Pittsburgh. Martin Perez on the mound for the Rangers. Johan Oviedo for the Pirates. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
A little bit, since it's a 5-gamer. Oviedo's actually been solid. He's showing up around 10% of the time in my crunches. Perez showing up around 15%. In the top pitchers tool, we have Perez second from the bottom in top 2 pitcher percentage, but still at 13%. It's just not the strongest pitching slate. You have Joe Ryan and Zach Gallen at the top, and then you have a bunch of garbage. So Perez, still showing up 13% of the time in terms of being a top 2 pitcher at 10% ownership. Oviedo, 17% chance of being top 2, also only 10% ownership. So he's projected to go a bit under-owned, but it is a really tough matchup for him as well against Texas. That's obviously reason for concern. So far this season, Oviedo allowing a 164 expected ISO to lefties, 22% strikeout percentage. That's perfectly fine. He's been better against righties in terms of limiting production. 103 expected ISO, 290 expected WOBA. Not striking them out at his high rate, only 16.5%. Perez, we know, not a very good strikeout pitcher. 18% to righties this year, 16% to lefties, giving up around a 180 expected ISO to both sides of the plate. So definitely not excited about either pitcher, but it is a favorable pitcher's park. And again, outside of the 2 pitchers at the top, there's not really anybody good pitching today.
Yeah, it's interesting slate in that way, I guess. I'm just catching up on chat a little bit. Sportswiz says crazy night for your boy. Money. Those are like avatars. That's not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for? Emojis, money emojis. Time to run it back. He says, what did you win, Sportswiz? Tell us about what you actually took down yesterday, and congrats on your big night. DFix says, what the blank happened yesterday. He put in the blank. What the fuck happened yesterday? I barely cashed in anything, and Greg took 4th in the relay. So my assumption, if I do poorly on a slate and somebody else does really well, is that they're a fish and they played bad lineups and got lucky. So that's what happened, right, Adam?
Yeah, exactly. Anytime somebody I know wins and I lose, it's just clear that I'm better than them.
Yeah, I mean they just got super lucky, obviously. Right. So I didn't realize that Greg took 4th, though. Congrats to Greg.
Yeah, I saw that when I was looking to see who won last night.
Yeah, exciting. Good for him. I know that Greg has been using the simulators, so I guess he's having some success. I know he's been having some success with those, but 4th is up. I think the best that he's done so far. That's really, really cool. All right. And also, I expected to come on and see a lot of people complaining about us being late. That was not the case. I had some dog issue. Yeah, I guess so. I've warned them. We're gonna start 5 minutes late. We were later than usual because as I went to take my last-minute bathroom break, my dog came out, woke up right then for the first time all day to come out and tell me he needed to go out. So I had to go run downstairs, take him down there. But now we're good to go. We're good to go. All right, tell me about your level of interest in the bats here. Texas Pirates. Any interest here?
Yeah, I mean, neither pitcher is very good. The park's not great, but you still have decent implied run totals here. 4.6 for the Rangers, 4.4 for Pittsburgh. Texas coming in at the top of the top stacks tool, 16% chance of being the top stack, 16% ownership. So nothing that really stands out there in terms of, ownership versus, being over-owned or under-owned. Pittsburgh, middle of the pack, 10% chance of being the top stack, 12% aggregate ownership, but also a little bit cheaper than Texas. I'm a little surprised Texas is first in top stack, just given the park, but at the same time, like when you look at the other parks that are playing today, Philadelphia's got two solid pitchers going. Gallen, one of the best pitchers on the slate. Suarez is whatever. Milwaukee has less good pitchers, but it does still make some sense. The Rangers 4.6 implied run total is edging out every other team on the slate. So yeah, the offenses look good, but it's not. There's nothing like Coors-esque where it's like, oh, this is clearly far and away the best stack.
Okay. How would you rank the four sides of this game?
Texas, Pittsburgh, Oviedo, Perez. Oviedo just because he's $1,400 less expensive than Perez.
Sportswiz says he won just a little, 2K, both sites, but nothing huge and crazy yet, but we getting there. Love the show as always. Appreciate you, Sportswiz. And 2K is nothing to sneeze at. I take 2K. That's a nice night. And David did it. David did it. I don't know what the name. He asked, "What is ISO?" Adam, can you tell us what ISO is really quickly? Is that something that you could?
Isolated power. I don't remember the exact formula off the top of my head, but it's I should. I'm blanking on it. It's a metric for measuring a hitter's power, or the power a pitcher is giving up. So the formula essentially strips out like singles and weights the power numbers. I think it's like slugging minus batting average. I don't remember what the actual formula is, but it's a metric for power. 160 to 180 is typically like average to good. When you start getting 200 plus, it's very good for hitters, very bad for pitchers.
I put you on the spot there because I know you're usually pretty good at explaining these different metrics. I'm like, I know like in theory what ISO is sort of, but like I have no idea what the I think that's a good enough explanation. That's all you really
need. Yeah, that's the gist of it. Like for DFS, you don't need to know how to calculate it. And yeah, like you can find I was right. It's slugging minus average. Yeah, you can, if you're ever wondering that kind of stuff too, just Google it and put Fangraphs after it, and they have a whole glossary. But yeah, it's slugging minus batting average.
Nice. Kevin says air yards in quotes. Yeah, maybe similar. No, I don't think it's really. All right. Next up, we have Arizona at Philadelphia. Zach Gallen on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Ranger Suarez for the Phillies. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, for sure. I already mentioned it a couple times, but Gallen clearly one of the best pitchers on the slate in terms of talent level, striking out about 30% of hitters this year, 1.98 FIP, not allowing any power, 5% walk percentage. It's not the easiest matchup against Philly, and it is noteworthy to me that they have a 4.2 implied run total. That definitely stands out as one where it's just higher than I expected it to be. I get that they're a good offense. I get that it's a good park, but Zach Gallen's been really, really good. So I don't know if this is just because it's 75 degrees and a day game in Philly. I don't know if Gallen's just not getting the respect he deserves, but a little surprised to see that implied run total. Either way, though, Gallen showing up in the crunches that I've run as the second best pitching option by a mile. It's Joe Ryan and Zach Gallen just pulling away from everybody else. That's reflected in the top pitchers tool as well. We have Gallen second, 33.5% chance of being a top two pitcher. Third is Desclafani at 20%. So pretty big gap there. 10-6 is a healthy price tag. But if you can get there, certainly happy to get to him. On the other side, Ranger Suarez is cheap at 5,800. So he's pulling 13% ownership, 16% chance of being a top two pitcher. He's not a bad pitcher. He's making, I believe, his third start of the year now after coming back from injury. Since the start of last year, 20% K rate to righties, 18% to lefties. Doesn't give up a ton of power. 131 expected ISO to righties, sub 100 to lefties, 251 expected WOBA to lefties, 316 to righties. So again, not a bad pitcher, not great strikeout stuff, and not a perfect matchup against Arizona. But when you kind of just consider, again, every pitcher on this slate has some sort of issue. For Gallen and Ryan, it's only that they're facing solid offenses. For everybody else, it's that they're not very good and may or may not be facing a solid offense. So Suarez at 5,800 certainly makes some sense.
Okay, so interested in both the pitchers in this game, but as you said, Zach Allen, clearly one of the two better pitchers on the slate. What about the bats here? You're going to be playing any Phillies against Zach Allen for some leverage going against with Arizona against Suarez? What's your level of interest here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the idea of Phillies bats in non-Gallon lineups since it is a smaller slate. They are still a high upside offense based on who's in it. They're not particularly likely to have success given how good Gallon is, but only pulling 7% ownership. On the other side, we have Arizona third in top stack percentage at 13%, only 9% aggregate ownership, which is sixth highest on the slate. So I'm a little surprised that they're third in top stack, but again, you just have a bunch of offenses that are like implied run totals in the mid fours. You do get a good park for power for Arizona, so I like that. If that ownership projection holds, I think they're pretty interesting in tournaments.
Okay, and how would you rank the four sides of the game?
Gallon 1, Arizona 2, Suarez 3, Phillies 4.
Adam, do you watch Ted Lasso?
Yes.
I'm a big fan. It's it's pretty cheesy. Like at times I think about it. I'm like, I don't really love that show, but then I watch it. I'm like, it's actually really good despite being super cheesy.
Yeah.
Are you all caught up?
I fell asleep watching last night's episode, so I'm like halfway through.
Okay. Yeah. I really enjoyed I learned last night though that this was the penultimate episode. It's the series finale next week of both Succession and Ted Lasso.
So it says season finale on the Apple TV.
I saw somebody posted that on Twitter or something.
But I'll say I thought that it was the last season, but then I think I might have just seen that Sudeikis isn't coming back.
Oh, that'd be weird. I mean, that's a very different show. Like he is Ted Lasso, so
right. But I also feel like they've built up Roy's character.
True. Yeah.
Like you could definitely keep that show going if he just takes over as head coach. You keep Coach Beard as the assistant.
Yeah, that's true. You could definitely. I mean, the cast it's a pretty wide ranging cast. That'd be interesting.
And they've developed Jamie's character a lot, where he could end up being a bigger focal point.
True.
Yeah. Or at least be used in different ways.
Yeah, I guess I'll hold out some hope that there is that there are going to be more seasons. Maybe Jason Sudeikis will come back to guest spots or something. But right. Yeah, either way, could be very sad. Both Ted Lasso and Succession having their final shows next week. Two of my favorite, two of the shows that I watch when they come out every week. There aren't that many shows like that, so would be a bummer.
Yeah, so, Barry and I've been attempting to watch Barry and Ted Lasso every time when it comes out, and like you said, there's just not a lot of shows I do that with.
Yeah, I liked Barry, and for some reason I just stopped watching it at some point, and now I'm way behind, and I'm probably going to start over from the beginning because it's one of those shows. It's similar to Better Call Saul. It's like I know this is a very good show. When I watch it, I enjoy it, but for some reason it doesn't hook me to the same extent where I feel like I need to watch it right now, like some other shows, and I don't know why the reason is.
Yeah, as I get what you mean. As Better Call Saul got towards the end, that was I looked forward to it coming out each week, but it was definitely a slow build. Barry's kind of like that with me too. I know it's a good show, I enjoy it, but it's never unless I'm just really bored on a Sunday. It's never right. Barry comes on at 10.
Right. That's how I feel about Succession. I am excited like that. Or when Game of Thrones was in its prime, I was I need to watch this immediately when it comes out. There are not that many shows like that, but I hope I get back into. I'll get back into Barry at some point and Better Call Saul. All right, we have made it through 2 of the 5 games. If you're wondering why we're chit-chatting about TV shows right now, it's because it's just a 5-game slate, and we've already made it through 2 of the games. Let's move on to the 3rd game of the slate, which is San Francisco at Minnesota. We've got Anthony DeSclafani on the mound for the Giants, Joe Ryan for the Twins. What is your level of interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Ryan looks great. Sort of alluded to earlier when we talked about Gallon, but number 1 pitching option on the slate. I think he's showing up the most in my crunches. He's first in top 2 pitcher percentage at 39%, pulling 51% ownership. So he is getting a little bit more than Gallon, but he's been very, very good this year. His stuff is backed up, or his numbers this year are backed up as well by an increase in pretty much everything. His velocity this year is about the same as from 2021 through 2023, but his expected WOBA is about 13.5% better so far this year than over the previous 3-year stretch. His whiffs per swing is up 7.5%. Overall, the results have been there. 30.4% strikeout percentage, 2.33 FIP. He's not walking anybody, 3.7% walk percentage. The matchup, against the Giants could be better. It is a solid offensive team, but 3.3 implied run total really stands out on this slate when there's only 2 teams with an implied run total below 4, and one of them is the White Sox against Quantrill, who leaves a lot to be desired in terms of strikeouts. So Ryan's looking really good. I'm going to have a ton of him. DeSclafani on the other side is pulling around 24% ownership, 20% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I think he's fine. He's somebody where, in 150 lineups, I would probably end up getting around the field. In 20, I'm probably not getting much because I'm getting more Ryan and Gallen.
Okay. What about the bats in this game?
Not a ton of interest. I mean, you can, on a 5-game slate, I guess you could make the case that you have a good offense facing a 50% owned pitcher, so that's kind of appealing, but I don't expect to get to the Giants. On the other side, I don't hate getting to Minnesota. 4.2 implied run total, pretty average for the slate. DeSclafani, so far this year, has been pretty solid. 302 expected WOBA to righties, 316 to lefties, striking out righties at a much higher clip, 23% to 14%. If you go back to the start of the 2021 season to try and get a little bit bigger sample on him, because he has been hurt recently, 22% K percentage to righties, 20% to lefties, 185 expected ISO to lefties, 333 expected WOBA, compared to a 147 expected ISO and 290 expected WOBA to righties. So normal splits for him. And when you talk about Minnesota, that does point you toward Julian leading off, is left-handed. Alex Kirilloff, highly regarded hitting prospect, hitting cleanup, left-handed. Those are pretty much your 2 left-handed power bats in this lineup. Obviously, you can still play Byron Buxton. I wish you had Joey Gallo. It is not the most exciting lineup to get to, so that hurts a little bit. Certainly would like it more if they had more left-handed power, but Julian, Buxton, Kirilloff in particular look good.
Okay. Red Skittle says, am I really going to have to roster Cal Quantrill today? T-Bird says, don't. Rant says, no. Red Skittle says, too late. I think you've got some time if you really want to make the switch, but it sounds like Red Skittle is pretty dead set on playing Cal Quantrill. We also got T-Bird asks, Adam, what do you think of both the Twins lineup and the pitcher for San Francisco? We just went over that. Do you think he means like in the same lineup? I don't think that's what he means, but I'm guessing you would say no to them in the same lineup.
I would certainly say no to them in the same lineup.
Yeah, on a 5-game slate, that's a little bit too large of a slate to play both. But then we also got Brian Durkay asking Adam, can you play both Joe Ryan and DeSclafani?
Yeah, that is still perfectly fine.
Yep. Okay, Red Scuttle says, no, it's too late, Neil. What's done is done. Yeah, I guess it's too late. All right, how would you rank the 4 sides of this game, Adam?
Joe Ryan 1, I guess DeSclafani 2, Twins 3, Giants 4.
Sean V says, mighty Joe Ryan going against his hometown team. He's from San Francisco. He's a Minnesota boy now. We have accepted Joe Ryan into Minnesota. He's forgotten where he's from. He's just a Minnesota boy, so it doesn't matter. All right, we've made it through 3 games on the slate, Adam. Seems like a good time to stop and briefly talk about our sponsor, SoRare MLB. Let me, I don't know, my thing's going a little bit slow here. 1 second. Oh, and it's not coming up. All right. Well, we're not going to look at my lineups then. We're just going to skip that part of the show where we take a look at my SoRare lineups. I'm just going to tell you that you should check out SoRare if you haven't already. It's a really fun way to play fantasy baseball. It's not DFS. It's not season long. 2 slates per week, and you can, reset your lineup for each one. So different from season long in that, like, you're kind of stuck with the team that you have in season long. SoRare, you can buy new cards anytime you want to play new cards. Every slate. It's really a lot of fun, and you can play for free. You can start for free when you sign up for SoRare. You're going to be given a choice from several different common cards, and they give you a little salary cap, but it's free to start, and then you can enter those common cards, whichever cards you choose, into the upcoming slate. You can win real prizes in those free contests. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't checked it out, highly recommend doing so. And again, I did put the link into chat. If you haven't yet signed up for SoRare, make sure you check that out. All right, Adam, 4th game on the slate. We've got the White Sox at the Guardians. Michael Kopech on the mound for the White Sox. Cal Quantrill for the Guardians. Starting with the pitchers, any interest here?
Yes and no. I think you're playing a lot of lineups than maybe, going back to the Quantrill point. The White Sox do have the 2nd lowest implied run total on the slate. Quantrill is middle of the pack with a 17% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He is getting 25% ownership, though. It's just kind of a weird spot where, Quantrill's getting respect as somebody that can limit production, and also, the White Sox just not getting respect. But you're talking about a pitcher that has a 13% strikeout percentage this year, 5.04 FIP. He's allowing 1.25 home runs per 9. There's not much about him that is good from a fantasy standpoint. It's just that he projects reasonably well because of the implied run total for the White Sox. Yeah, he's certainly playable. He's getting ownership. I don't really have a problem with that. Like, I understand why he's getting it, but I also the way I'm approaching it is I prefer either getting the top 2 pitchers, Gallen and Ryan, or just punting, going Suarez, and getting the best bats that I can.
Okay, makes sense. So you're not going here a ton.
He's not showing up in my 20 max stuff. I don't know, 150. I'm trying to be getting more than 0.
Okay. What about the bats in this game?
I'm interested in the White Sox side just because Quantrill's getting ownership, and they do still have solid bats in this lineup. And again, Quantrill's just not very good. 180 expected ISO to lefties, 362 expected WOBA, 222 expected ISO to righties with a 9% strikeout percentage, 355 expected WOBA. Kind of interested in the White Sox. Looking at the top stacks tool, they are third from the bottom with a 7.5% chance of being the top stack, but they also are only getting 7.5% ownership, and they are pretty cheap. So I think you can make the case for them. On the other side, Kopech has been very hit or miss. He's, I believe, coming off of a really good start his last time out. Not a great matchup against Cleveland. He, so far this year, has really had weird splits when it comes to lefties. He's striking them out at a 30.5% clip, but he's also allowing a 384 expected WOBA and a 266 expected ISO. So basically, he's striking you out, or you're hitting the ball really hard if you're left-handed. Righties are only striking out 17.5% of the time, still getting to him for power and production with a 240 expected ISO and 372 expected WOBA. So when you look at the Cleveland lineup, it's pretty balanced, but the top of the order is shaded towards lefties. Steven Kwan, very difficult to strike out, also has no power, so interested to see how that one goes. Ramirez, difficult to strike out with a ton of power, makes me really like him individually. Naylor and Bell, it sucks they're both first base only on DraftKings, but they're both pretty cheap. Either of them are good, one-offs or perfectly fine to include in a Cleveland stack. So overall, I think this is kind of just a weird game where I have a little bit of interest in the pitching, even though they aren't good, just because pitching on this slate sucks and these guys are good enough. But then also interested in the bats just because neither pitcher is very good.
Okay. Interesting. So not a ton of interest. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
I have no idea. I guess Quantrill 1, he's only 6,300. Quantrill 1, Guardians 2, Kopech 3, White Sox 4.
All right. That works. Is Luis Robert out?
Luis Robert is out.
Okay.
Clint Frazier is back. I had no idea that guy was still playing baseball.
And he's on the White Sox?
And he's on the White Sox.
I didn't know that. All right. Brian Durkay says, hell yeah, Neil, you said my last name right. I'm trying to think. I assume I just said it the same way I said it earlier.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think what other way would you pronounce it? I'm trying to think of like how you would mispronounce that name. Brian. I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad I said it right. Chunk the Deuce says, I'm watching this a little behind, but I've got to make a statement on Succession. I think it easily may be the whitest show on TV, and it's not close. Just throwing that out there. I mean, it is, as I'm thinking about, like, yeah, it's a very white show. It doesn't try to be anything, but it's about like rich white kids, like, privilege. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is true. And then there was other. We just got Phil Stowe says best pitcher combo, mid-range, single entry. Thanks, guys. What do you think? Best pitcher combo in the mid-range?
Those are two different things. So okay. You're asking for the best pitcher combo in the mid-range? In that case, they're all kind of comparable. Like, if you're taking out Ryan and Gallen and asking for the best pitcher combo, I don't know, throw darts at a dartboard. Desclafani and either Quantrill or Suarez probably. But the best pitcher combo, if you can get it, is very clearly Ryan and Gallen.
Okay. Yep. Makes sense. Aaron Hines says Billions is worse than Succession in terms of being the whitest show on TV. I've never seen Billions. Have you seen it?
Billions is good, especially the first few seasons, whatever seasons. Damian Lewis.
I don't know who that is.
Isn't it?
Okay.
He was in Homeland. He's like the star of the first few seasons of Billions.
I struggle. Like, I can never get into TV shows knowing that they're going to get worse. Like, Lost is the example. Like, everybody complains about the ending of Lost. So I could not get into Lost knowing that I'm going to be disappointed by the ending. So I never ended up watching.
Have you watched Dexter?
I love Dexter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So did I. But like, the first 4 seasons are clearly better than the rest of the show.
I think that it might be because I watched it at the time, so I didn't know going in. Okay. so that might be part of it. Like, Lost, I didn't watch while it was happening.
Yeah, I watched it later, but I don't think anybody had really told me that it got bad. I still didn't like hate it, the rest of it. It just became like, yeah, whatever, this is entertaining enough, as opposed to like, I can't wait to watch the next episode.
What did you think of the I forget what it's called, the reboot that happened this like last year or 2 years ago?
I think I liked it more than most people did.
I did too.
I don't remember specifics anymore, but I remember people hating the ending again, and I actually thought it was a pretty solid ending given what they had to work with. Because that was one where like I had tried to think through like all the different ways the ending could go, and the one that they used, I don't even remember what it was, but the one that they used was the one that I had thought of that I thought was like the best option. Like it wasn't perfect, it wasn't
Yeah.
great, but I just I hadn't been able to think of any better options. So like I actually sort of liked it, and I know a lot of people still hated the ending.
Yeah. No, I don't have really strong feelings on the ending. I'm not going to get into it. Not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But overall, I thought it was a very good season. I really enjoyed it. Chunks says, "Yeah, I get it for sure. I just got a little redundant after a while. Although I am pot committed, haven't started this season. He's talking about Succession yet, so hoping it wraps up better. I honestly, this has not been my favorite season of Succession. I'm still really enjoying it, but like not with the same excitement that I did past seasons, to be honest. All right. I'm totally sidetracked here. Oh, okay. You already ranked the sides of this one. So we are on to Houston, Milwaukee, and we also got a request to do tiers. We can do tiers. We got plenty of time here. We got another 30 minutes before lock. So I know Adam, you probably got to get some lineups in. I have to run my lineup. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I guess we have all the lineups. I'm actually already
cautiously optimistic. So I was up like half the night 2 nights ago. I was up a good part of the night last night, just trying to build some stuff to hopefully improve my MLB process. And from an exposure standpoint, I'm pretty happy with the way my stuff is working out.
Nice. All right. Well, glad to hear that. All right, let's do this final game of the slate. Houston at Milwaukee. We've got Brandon Bielak on the mound for the Astros, Adrian Hauser for the Brewers. Any interest in these pitchers?
So in 20 max, I'm not getting to either one. Overall, I don't really have much interest. 4.5 implied run total for both teams. One of the only two hitter sparks on the slate. Bielak is 6,800. He's projected for 7% ownership. So if you wanted to go to him, that would sort of be the argument. Is he's getting 1/3 the ownership of Quantrill. He's getting around half the ownership of Suarez. Neither of those guys are great either. So, just kind of hope for the best, but not excited to get there. Hauser on the other side, kind of the same thing. Tough matchup with Houston. Not a great strikeout pitcher. When he's on, he does do a good job keeping the ball on the ground and limiting power. Just doesn't have a big margin for error, but he's getting 4.5% ownership. 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. You compare that to these other cheap guys, Quantrill, $300 more, 1.7 times is likely to be a top 2 pitcher, but 6 times the ownership. Suarez 1.5 times is likely to be a top 2 pitcher, but 3 to 4 times the ownership at $200 less. When you compare him to those other guys, he's clearly going under-owned, but also if you just don't get to him, that is perfectly fine because it's not like you should be expecting a big game from him. He struck out 17.5% of hitters this year. He does have a 3.28 FIP, which is better than pretty much anything else on this slate, especially in his price range. But you're also facing the Astros. No Altuve today, so a little bit weaker lineup than usual. Last time I said that, Dubon homered, and the Astros scored like 15 runs. So still a tough matchup for him.
Yep, makes sense. All right, how about the bats in this game?
Yeah, Houston and Milwaukee both look pretty good. I'm getting to a lot of Milwaukee, getting to a decent amount of Houston as well. Bielak is someone that we don't have a lot of sample on in the major leagues. Going back to the start of last year, 341 pitches thrown to righties, 215 to lefties. So not much to see there. If you go back to 2021, you get 800 pitches to righties, 589 to lefties. 119 expected ISO to lefties, 194 to righties going back to 2021. Don't think all of that time was as a starter either. So you expect him to be a bit worse. So Milwaukee's looking pretty good. Houston, I think a more difficult matchup against Hauser, but also a very good offense. They're second in top stack percentage. Milwaukee is 4th. Similarly owned, but Milwaukee is twice as likely to be the top value stack. So you just get cheaper bats there. It makes it a little bit easier to get to that Ryan and Gallen combo.
How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
So I would like ownership agnostic and everything. I would rank it Houston, Milwaukee, Hauser, Bielak. Based on the way my exposures look, I would say Milwaukee, Houston, Hauser, Bielak.
Okay. Chunk the Deuce says, no one I'm rooting for more in the industry than you, Ship. I've been on a little heater for most of your advice this season and multiple seasons before this. So thanks for that, if nothing else. I was about to say that I'm not hurt by that, and then he followed it up. He said, and Neil, you're right up there on the list too. Appreciate you, Chunk the Deuce.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah. Adam gives good advice. Been
Need to
listening to
just
Adam
start
for
going back and watching my stuff apparently.
yeah, me too. Like, because as we all know, I don't really listen to you while I'm on the show with you.
Right,
So then I
right.
just do worse at MLB because I'm like, fuck, who's good on this slate? I don't remember. By the time the night slate comes around, it's a tough sledding out there. All right. Well, we have made it to the end of the 5 games. Adam, if you were playing just 3 stacks in a 3 max contest, which 3 stacks would you go to?
So I mean, I guess I have to say Milwaukee, White Sox, and I don't know, my third stack's pretty close. Minnesota.
3 favorite pitchers.
Ryan Gallen, and then I mean, I'm getting Oviedo and Suarez. If you want to tell me that it's Quantrill instead, that's fine. If you want to say Desclafani, that's fine. Like everybody not named Ryan or Gallen to me is basically the same.
Red Skittle says 1 Ryan, 2 Quantrill, 3 question mark. Red Skittle's really, really loving his Quantrill today. All right, well, we are going to give our home run picks, but first, let me show you. I did figure out how to, if for some reason it wasn't working earlier, I wasn't able to share my screen. Now I'm able to share my screen. Let's take a look briefly at lineup generator. Again, and somebody asked us in chat, are we going to go over the main slate on this show? We're not going to because we're going to have, I believe, 2 shows on it later tonight. Both.
I'm on later doing that.
Are you on Deeper Dive later?
I'm on the Deeper Dive, and then we also have Live Before Lock.
Okay, so yeah, we have both Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock for the main slate later. So we're not going to talk about it here other than to look at lineup generator, see what kind of lineups we're getting as of right now. Who knows if this will change by the time that we get closer to lock there. But I'm going to go with some balanced lineups here. Skip the lock in any players, see what kind of lineups we're getting for that slate. And I haven't looked at the slate at all, so I am not in a good position to really tell you whether these are. I know that they're good lineups. I guess I can. I'm in a good position to tell you that they are good lineups because every lineup that you get in lineup generator is going to be a lineup that has been found to be plus EV in the stochastic sims. What that means is that over the long haul, if you play 10,000 slates and you're just using lineups from the lineup generator, you should be profitable over that period. These are all good lineups, bad lineups vetted for you. I'm going to throw a link in chat for you can still get lineup generator for 50% off the usual price for your first week. That means it's $4.50 for the first week of lineup generator, just $9 after that. And again, you're getting good lineups. Every lineup you're going to get in lineup generator going to be a plus EV lineup long term. Adam, do you have any thoughts? It looks like we have San Diego, Seattle. I haven't counted out yet. 5-3 San Diego, Seattle stack here with Marcus Stroman, Kodai Senga. Looks like it's not all that high owned. I guess 156% ownership, not especially low, but a lot of low owned components to this lineup. Looks like a good one to me. Do you have any thoughts on this one, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I'm in the same boat with you. I haven't looked at that slate. So, like, looking at this, I sort of feel like I do when I make, like, MMA lineups. It's like, I know this is a good lineup because lineup generator is saying it's a good lineup.
Right.
I don't really have any context I can add to it because I haven't looked at that slate. But, yeah, that was my first thought when you were trying to describe it. It was like, yeah, when I make MMA lineups, I assume the ones at the top at the end are good because I win at MMA, but I can't tell you why they're good.
Yep, makes sense. Red Skittle says, "Belak is the sound I make when I puke." All right. All right. I'm going to save this one. We're not going to go over it all that much because we haven't really looked at the slate, but just know that you can get lineup generator for $4.50 for your first week. Not much to lose there, just $9, even if after that, if you want to continue, and you're getting only good lineups. So if you haven't, had a ton of success with your MLB process, highly recommend checking it out, if only to look at the lineups and see what good lineups look like. This one we got a low-owned Tyler Wells pitching for your Orioles, Adam. 5.5% ownership there, along with Kodai Senga. Once again, we've got San Diego back in this lineup. Looks like it's a San Diego, Miami full stack here. 1, 2, 4 stack, San Diego, Miami. Obviously, it's going to be a good lineup once again. All right, I'm going to save this one, and I'm just going to get to the end. I'm going to save 20 lineups, see what it looks like at the end.
Interesting. So my main takeaway, just from seeing how those lineups looked as you click through them, and without looking at the slate, I'm guessing this is setting up as a slate where it's another one where you kind of just like throw your hands up and say, like, I don't know how to rank this shit. Just play whatever is not popular.
Yeah.
Because it seems like a lot of those lineups were not very chalky at all, which makes me think that the chalk is probably not much better than not chalk in terms of projection.
Yeah, looking through the total ownership sum of each lineup, like they're all kind of in the same range, like generally like upper 150s. This is the highest, I think, at 68, but like they're all kind of in the same ownership range for the lineup as a total, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, obviously they're going to be good lineups. These ones we're getting a ton of Kodai Senga. Again, if you don't want all that Kodai Senga, you can always go back and add different lineups. You can discard your Kodai Senga lineups and then go back and find some new lineups. Go get more lineups and then choose lineups that don't have Senga in them. So here's a good example. Save that one. Discard. Going to get a lot of Senga because he obviously looks good. And then I'll save this one. And now you can see my Kodai Senga exposure came down. And that's, good way to, figure out the exposures that you want. Every lineup you get is going to be a good one. You should really check it out if you haven't already. Again, I put the link in chat, so check that out. All right, Adam, home run picks. We'll do our home run. Let's do home run picks for both slates here. So starting with the early slate, do you have a home run pick here?
Hopefully Tim Anderson or Christian Yelich or William Contreras, but I'll go with. I need to get back to that slate. I will go with Jose Ramirez.
I mean, I'm tempted to stick Jordan Alvarez. Yeah, I guess if that's allowed, I'm just going to go with Jordan Alvarez. Seems good enough to me. You want to do this for the late slate as well? I guess the main slate.
Sure. All right. So I think I need to look at one game. I'll go Juan Soto against Trevor Williams.
Juan Soto, we have with a 26% chance of hitting a home run tonight. So that one looks good. I'm going to go with his teammate, Fernando Tatis, who we have with a 41% chance of hitting a home run. I just cheat and use the top batters tool.
That is a number.
Yeah, 41%. That's 3 days in a row. We've seen at least one batter with the 40%. Of course, Devers has not hit in either of the days that he's been 40%, but over the long term, I think that's a good bet to take those in general, the 40% home run odds. All right, we were asked to do tiers, so we will take a look at tiers as well. Let me pull that up. And then I have to remember to do my lineups before lock actually happens. Oh, there's only the free contest left, so this only really probably matters to people who have already reserved lineups. All right, Adam, in tier 1, we've got Jordan Alvarez, Thairo Estrada, Bryce Harper, Byron Buxton.
Alvarez.
All day, Alvarez. All right. Tier 2, I mean, Byron Buxton there. I love Buxton, but yeah, I'd probably go Alvarez there. Marcus Semien, Corbin Carroll, Brian Reynolds, Kyle Tucker. Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, Jose Ramirez, Ketel Marte, Trey Turner.
Jose Ramirez.
Christian Yelich, Jung. I don't even know. I can't remember what his first name is.
Josh Young.
Josh Young, Nick Castellanos, Jorge Pena, Kyle Schwarber, Alex Bregman, Tim Anderson.
Yelich.
Christian Walker, Andrew McCutchen, Yoan Moncada, Andres Jimenez.
Christian Walker.
Nate Lowe, Josh Heim, Rowdy Tellez, Stephen Kwan.
Jonah Heim. Yeah, I'll take Rowdy Tellez.
All right. You've already gone through it. All right. So you want Rowdy Tellez in the final tier. All right. So those are our tiers. Trey says the ending of Dexter ruined me. Oh, ruined it. Okay. Ruined it for him. Yeah, it didn't ruin it for me.
I mean, I just don't remember it. Like, I don't remember. My TV show recall also sucks, but I just don't remember anything after the season 4 finale, essentially. Like, that's all you need to remember. Everything else was just like entertainment. But yeah.
Was the season 4 finale had to do with the I forget what they called them. Trinity Killer. That was just that was so good.
That was such a good season and such a good ending.
Yeah, that was incredible. We've talked about all of the entire slate. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to talk about. Otherwise, you guys can feel free to shoot questions at us. Anything else you want to talk about, happy to talk about it. Really, really grateful to not have Laffy and Josh on the show with me as we're talking about the Guardians. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about, Adam. But if you watch NBA strategy yesterday, they got into the naming of different teams, and man, I'm glad I'm not having this conversation right now on a stream. So we're not going to get into it, but kind of entertaining. Yeah, we got nothing. And anybody else have?
Did they not know why the Guardians are named the Guardians?
They just had a big conversation about I guess they just had a conversation about why and whether that should be the case. And it was just like, I don't want to have these conversations publicly. Yeah. It's just like, you guys go ahead, have fun with that. Don't think it's necessary for us. All right. Do we have any questions? Anything else you guys want to talk about? Bulldogger says, turns out he was a killer all along. Yeah. Chunk the Deuce says, didn't Dexter come back and get some great reviews? I thought the comeback was good. Yeah, they came back. They had one final season a year or two ago, and I thought it was really good. But a lot of people disagreed about the ending, whether it was a good ending.
It just you almost never like the ending to a show because it's just, I think it's really hard to have good endings because typically shows just go a season or two too long. You just get to a point where it's like, okay, well, no matter what we do, it's kind of going to suck. But you don't want it to just end when it's still good.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I love the ending of Breaking Bad. I thought it was a very good show. That was part of it. Part of why I remember Breaking Bad fondly is that I thought the whole series, the way it ended, made sense. I enjoyed the ending.
Remember.
Yeah, I don't actually remember what the ending was. I just remember that I thought it was a good, appropriate ending that I actually enjoyed. Chunk the Dude says it's so hard to wrap up a show. Indeed. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the writers that they're trying to do the impossible here. JK says Josh gaslighting Laffy on the I word was good stuff. Yeah, it was. I thought the new terminology is just Native Americans. I don't really think it's really a slanderous word. I don't think that it's considered a slanderous word to call somebody an Indian. That was where they were talking about. Just Laffy used the word Indian, and then Josh started making fun of him. You can't use that word these days. And I'm I don't think that's ever been the case. It's not that type of word. It's just, I think Native Americans is the most common. They didn't even think of that as a word that people use, but that's what I think of as being the most appropriate, accepted. But maybe I'm behind. I could be totally, things change.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So quickly that I have no idea. Chunk the Deuce says Shameless is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. It easily went 3 more seasons than it should. That's another show that I was when I watch it, I enjoy it. It's a fun TV show, but it's never been I need to watch the next episode. So then I end up quitting. And I think I probably watched the first season multiple times and I just end up quitting.
But so that one I had never watched. My mom and my sister would watch it. And my general rule of thumb is if my sister and mom like something, I'm not going to like it. So I just never watched it. I just assumed it was a dumb show. And then I'd gone on vacation during the NBA All-Star break maybe. And I got COVID and the person I was with had put on Shameless, and gone to sleep. And I was just laying there shaking with a fever and couldn't sleep. So I ended up watching the first 5 episodes. I'm oh, this is really good. And then I ended up watching all 11 seasons over the next month. There's
11 seasons of Shameless. My God.
Something like that.
Yeah. Red Skill says Shameless has boobies. Chunk the Deuce says nice boobies. I mean, that is true. In the one season that I watched, that is true. Chunk the Deuce says never seen Breaking Bad because I'm a hater, too big of a Malcolm in the Middle fan to make the transition from dad to drug lord. That's part of what I love about it. Just seeing a character or an actor completely change roles. Yeah, it's fun. And then somebody said apparently Bulldogger says Native American is considered offensive to some. Okay, I missed that. I don't know what the accepted terminology is. Apparently, I'm behind on the times, getting old and just saying things that were appropriate 10 years ago, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions about the slate that you want to? I mean, we've got 12 more minutes before the slate locks. Happy to answer any questions that you have about the slate. I am going to be making my lineups in the meantime as I'll check on. All right. Yeah. JK says, I hear you, Neil. Yeah. Things change quickly. It's tough world out there. All right. It's only a 5-game slate. I think I'm going to still run 5-man stacks. I'm not playing a ton anyway. Doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to play.
Are you playing any significant volume here?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Still want to have, decent lineups in there. Do I just go Ryan in every one of my lineups? Ryan and Gallon seems like okay.
I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at. So like in my 20 right now, I have 100% Ryan, 85% Gallon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a reasonable number. All right, Chunk the Deuce asks, do you all not factor in? He mentioned this early. Mark Rippinger being behind the plate in Brewerland. I think he said that it's a great pitchers umpire. It's not something if it's factored into Vegas, then I'm factored in. Otherwise, it's not something I'm factored in.
Yeah. Also, where are you getting he's the best pitcher umpire from? Because he's not on the general list that I consider. But he's great for memes because he just stabs you on the strikeouts. But yeah, and no, I mean, I don't double count it. Like I don't go in and say like, oh, there's a pitcher's umpire, so I'm gonna make the pitchers project better than they already project with knowing who the umpire is.
Right. Sports News asks, what is the perfect lineup going to be today? Can I play my hitter versus my pitcher? I wouldn't, and I doubt that it could be. It could be in the perfect lineup, but on a 5-game slate, not something I'm doing. As for the perfect lineup, do you want to guess all the one-offs that are going to be in there, Adam?
Yeah, I can do that. Let's see. Oh, wrong tab. Ryan, I actually, it's gonna be really hard because it would.
Yeah, it's gonna be very hard.
It would require.
I was joking. I wasn't actually asking you to do it.
Well, at first I was thinking I could just name the hitter that I like the most at each position, but you have to have pitching too.
And you also have to have like salary constraints.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was like. Yeah. So I was like, well, definitely, Ryan and Gallon. And I was like, oh shit, now I have to pay attention to how much every hitter costs. And I'm not doing that.
It's like you could run out optimals, I guess, if you really want to, but it's still unlikely to be. I think it's pretty tough question there. All right. I just ran it. I allowed 100% of my pitches. I got to 100% Joe Ryan, only 50% Zach Gallen. Kind of surprised me in my first crunch, and I'll probably just accept it because I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. Good enough. All right. JKS. Are we completely avoiding one-offs against Ryan and Gallen if roster in either? For example, cheap Conforto. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean that's decide what you want to do. Like if you want to play a hitter against your pitcher, it's a 5-game slate. Fine, I'm not.
It's not something that I told lineup or I told Fantasy Cruncher not to do. Like for my one-offs, like if the one-off that I get is facing off against Joe Ryan or Zach Gallen, I'm okay with that. But I'm probably not going to get them because they're not going to project that well. Maybe in like 150 set, I'd be a little bit more likely to get to some, but
yeah, I mean, I would just rather roster somebody else. Like, using the Conforto example. So he's, I don't know, where is he? He's 3,400 on DraftKings. Like if you have Joe Ryan, there's plenty of other outfield options that are similarly priced. Connor Joe is the same price. He actually projects a little bit better, but same range of outcomes. Chas McCormick, same range of outcomes. Like you have so many other guys you can go to. Like I would just rather have one of them.
Yeah, makes sense. What was this? Chunk the Deuce says, I get my umpire data from Swish Analytics. I'm not familiar with Swish Analytics, but apparently that's where he's getting his info on that umpire. Oh yeah, Chris Williams says, your Apple guy again. Great show like always. Any breakdown of tonight's 2-game night slate on DraftKings? I haven't looked at it. So we do have 2 more shows coming up later, Chris. I guess we can take. I guess I can take a look what's even on that slate. 2-game night slate. Okay, so it's just Boston versus the Angels, Oakland and Seattle. Who we got pitching here? We've got Bryce Miller, 10,100 Bryce Miller. That price
jumped quick.
James Paxton, 8,900. Ken Waldichuk at 5,300. Tyler Anderson at 6,500. I'm assuming you have not looked at that slate. We've got Bryce Miller at 76% projected ownership on the 2-gamer. What do you think about that ownership?
I mean, I think it makes sense. Great matchup, good pitcher. I mean, that price tag jumped quick, but like you have 2 pitchers. You have Paxton on the slate who has looked good as far as this stuff goes. Still a dangerous matchup. You have Miller, who's shown good stuff, has a great matchup. Waldichuk sucks. Tyler Anderson's not a great strikeout pitcher. Like you should just be getting a ton of Bryce Miller.
Yep, makes sense. And it's a 2-game slate. How many bats do you think you'd allow against your pitcher, Adam?
2-gamer, probably 3.
And based on these pitchers, so we got Bryce Miller, or based on whatever factor, who do you think would be your favorite stack in this game? Seattle, Oakland, Boston, LA?
Without knowing ownership, probably Seattle.
That's what I was thinking. Seattle against Ken Waldichuk looks really good here.
Boston, probably second. 4.8 implied run total again for Boston and the Angels. It seems like it's just like permanently stuck there, but I don't totally get it.
Yeah. Chris says, sorry, it's my first time watching MLB podcast. I'm not sure if y'all cover this later. Yeah, we typically don't talk about like the night slates, but we will have 2 shows again or later on tonight. We've got both Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock, so they'll be covering both like the main slates in depth. So they'll cover those games a little bit more in depth as well. But I think that's a good enough rundown of that 2-game slate. We also got the question: top home run pick for a player that's 3,000 or less. Adam, that's kind of an interesting question.
Top home run pick for a hitter 3,000 or less. I'm assuming early slate.
Yeah.
All right, let me just. It's gonna be easier if I just sort by that. 3,000. Any hitter, or did they say outfield or any hitter?
I think he said any hitter.
Josh Bell.
I was gonna say Josh Bell. All right, let me see if I can find somebody else. Oh, I'll take Edouard Julien.
That works too.
Leading off for the Twins. Hell yeah. All right, do we have any other questions? Jake says Gavin Sheets. Yeah, RC says Billions over Succession, not close. I've never seen Billions, so I can't really have an opinion on this.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of Succession. Billions is really good though.
Is Billions funny? Or is it? Or somebody said it was like a drama, or
yeah, more of a drama. Yeah.
Succession it's similar to. People are gonna like disagree with this, but it's similar in this way to Sopranos to me. In that, my favorite thing about the show is how funny it is. I think other people might like different aspects of it. Different, like Sopranos. Most people don't like recognize it as a comedy. I think Sopranos is hilarious. I think it's meant to be hilarious. I think that it's similar with Succession, but it's very like dry humor. Yeah. It's not like in your face humor.
Yeah, I mean, like Billions has like comedic aspects to it, but it's a drama at heart.
Andrew
like
says
there's just like some ridiculous stuff or stuff that like the situations are funny sometimes.
Okay. Dan Soder is in Billions and he's funny. I don't know who Dan Soder is.
I'm looking now to see who.
Yeah, JK says, dude, Paulie Walnuts, he died. RIP. Yeah, Paulie Walnuts was a great character.
Yeah, there's like, yeah, Billions isn't a comedy by any stretch, but like there's comic relief in it.
Yeah. He's a comedian who used to do radio shows on Sirius. I don't know what I'm trying to think what show. How it ended with Deb was bad. Oh, he's talking about Dexter. Yeah, I was like, going way back. All right. All right. I think that I don't think we have any other questions. So I think that we've covered everything that we needed to cover. By the way, guys, if you haven't liked the video, please do like the video. It helps us out a lot if you do so. I know I don't ask all that often, but really do appreciate it. Please make up for me not asking for it. And just give us that like, because we always appreciate it. Helps us out a lot. Do you have any final thought? I'm trying to think if there's anything we've missed. I think we've done all the regular parts. Just a 5-game slate. Do you have any final thoughts, Adam?
That's it. I'll be back for the deeper dive at 5 Eastern.
This is my only show today. I don't know how that happened. It's pretty, I guess, because the show that I was supposed to do today was Underdog NBA, which then there's no NBA today, so we moved it to yesterday. Now I'm free for the rest of the afternoon. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, like the video if you haven't already. Adam will be back later for MLB Deeper Dive. We're also going to have MLB Live Before Lock after that. I don't know who is on that show. Let me see if I can check that real quick. Today is Wednesday. We've got Josh and Adam on Deeper Dive, and then we've got Greg and Eric on Live Before Lock. Come back. That'll be at 5 o'clock Eastern for Deeper Dive, 6 o'clock for Live Before Lock, and then PGA Live Before Lock after that as well for the slate that starts tomorrow. So plenty of shows left on the channel today. Make sure you check those out. And again, thanks you guys for watching, and good luck today.